So good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to this discussion. We're talking about form, fit and function of women's technical clothing. I've asked you all to turn off your cameras and your microphones just so that we can record this and it can be shared and played back. Once we do get to questions, you can turn your mic back on and you can turn your camera on as well if you want to speak to us. So as you can, hopefully you'll be able to see there's a panel of videos and we're all the people that are going to be talking to you this evening. Lots of you will perhaps know me as a swimmer, but before I started swimming I did a lot of hill walking and camping, and I always managed to find clothes that fit me, but I could certainly never walk confidently into a shop and pick something straight off the rack. In the intervening years, I've gone up a couple of dress sizes and I'm now largely sized out of technical outdoor clothing. Even though I'm an active person, I've got an active job and I work outside all the time. So I got in touch, Kathy and I got in touch when the Climbers Shop in Ambleside were launching their podcast series, and there was a conversation on Twitter and I chimed in about the lack of sizing options that the Climbers Shop had got on their website, and Kathy subsequently got in touch about this and explained about how the key brands in their shop don't go up to a size 18. So we got together on the subject, and after a few conversations we've decided to host this online chat to share our experiences. So I've got this panel of fantastic people together to talk as well, and I'm going to hand over to Kathy just to say a little bit about her perspective on the issue.
Thanks, Susanna, and thank you very much for everybody for joining us this evening and giving up your time. It's really appreciated. My name's Kathy. I'm the director and also the co-owner of the Climbers Shop in Ambleside and the Joe Brown shops in Llanberis and Capel Curig in Snowdonia. My husband and I have owned the shop since 2005. And before that, Joe Brown's was actually owned by Val Brown, Joe's wife. It was her business, and it was run by an all-female management team for many, many years. So it's really important in our shops that we continue and have built up a 50-50 split between men's and women's clothing and footwear. It's almost, or as close as we can get it, to like for like. Now, obviously, the last 15 months have been pretty tumultuous for all of us, and as we've been recovering as a business economically, we've had to make some changes, streamline our suppliers, and we work very closely. We've got fantastic working relationships with Montaigne, with RAB and with Mountain Equipment. As we were changing our offering, we realised that we didn't have anything above a size 16 in stock. Thought that's not right. Went to go and buy some larger sizes and realised that none of those three suppliers make beyond a size 16. They make, RAB actually make one jacket in a size 18. In the past year, we've found that, or it's become very noticeable that we can't accommodate all of the customers or all of our customers that are wanting to come in and buy technical clothing in a larger size. So Susanna's Twitter conversation came at just the right time. And it's obviously time for us as a retailer to listen. I'm hoping you guys can help me with information on how we can improve our ranging moving forward. And also I'm hoping we can get a collective voice so that I can act as a conduit and get this information right to the very top of the technical companies that we deal with. So I am all ears. I've got note paper everywhere, and I'm really looking forward to this evening.
Excellent, thank you, Kathy. I'm really pleased to have Ella Foote here joining us to share her experiences and lead the questions, because she's far better at it than I am. And I've also invited Susie, Jane, Amy and Karen to give a varied outlook on the issue, because I think if it was just me and Ella sat here chatting about it, we'd probably have a reasonably biased view. So we've got a selection of ages, heights, sizes, absolutely everything. We all take part in a range of activities. We are all swimmers too, so we are talking primarily about technical outdoor clothing, but if you have got swim questions, fire them away, because you've got some experts here as well. So as I say, Ella's going to lead on the questions and I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, so any questions that you have got for us or comments that you want to make, just pop them in there. And yeah, Ella, over to you. Thank you.
Okay. I thought we could just start with each of our panelists just saying a little bit about them, if they're feeling confident, or what their dress size is, or some measurements, whether it's that you find things difficult because you're tall, or because you're short, or because you've got a bigger tummy, or something just a bit more personable so people can relate. So we'll start with Karen.
Sure. Thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me. It's great to see everybody. That's nice to meet people who I've kind of only knew existed online. So that's really nice. My name is Karen Throsby. I'm an associate professor in the School of Sociology and Social Policy at the University of Leeds. But I think I'm here because I'm a swimmer, not because of that. Although I have also written a book about swimming, long distance swimming as well, where the two met, my two interests. So I'm long distance swimming, as marathon swimming is my primary sporting activity, but sort of in the course of doing that, I also run a little bit, cycle a little bit, do quite a bit of hill walking. I like to hang out in the lakes and go tromping up things. In terms of body size, I'm kind of, depending on different times, I'm kind of between a 14 and a 16. So I'm pretty much average. That's pretty much the average body size for a woman in the UK. I'm 53, so I'm also going through the menopause, which also has impacts on body shape, which I'm happy to talk about later as well. So in that sense, I can buy technical clothing in regular stores, but not necessarily easily, and not necessarily with the range or the fit that I would like, and I've got some thoughts about that we can talk about later. So that's kind of so my interest in this is really from that perspective, as a kind of slightly older, I guess, sort of kind of average sized woman that many would consider to be large. I think particularly within the kind of very active field. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Karen. And Susie.
Hello, thank you for having me. So I'm I'll start with dress size and height first, because I'm much like Karen, very average build. I'm a 14 on top and probably a 16-ish on the bottom. My biggest, I've gone up to a size 20 on my bottom half, so I've varied in the last 15-20 years quite significantly. But I'm 6 foot tall and I have size 9 feet, so I am not well accommodated for in any clothing, to be honest, but particularly in shoes is a particular bugbear for me now, particularly in women's designs. So I'm much like Susanna, I'm an outdoor swim guide and coach. I'm based down in the Peak District, but I'm also a kayaker. I do a lot of hill walking. I've done a teeny tiny little bit of climbing. Generally, I spend most of my time in outdoor gear because of my job. I would say in the last 20 years, it's improved slightly in size range, but not to the point it should have done. I can walk into a shop and certainly buy tops, it's not a problem, but trousers are another story entirely. Yep, we've got another size 9-10 feet as well. Yeah, but shoes are a big problem for me.
Lovely, thanks, Susie. And Jane.
Hello, thanks very much for inviting me. I'm going to dive straight in like Susie. I'm 50, nearly that far off, perimenopausal, so I'm really keen to talk about that because I think it does have a massive impact on your clothes. I have an enormous bust, basically, is one of my issues. I'm quite happy to put it out there. I'm a 34 double J, so I have a narrow back, big front, and I find it really hard to get anything sensible at all. I'm also 5'3", so I spend quite a lot of time looking like everything's just hanging off. So my bottom half is usually about 16. So that's my difficulty. And even actually until fairly recently, getting a really decent sports bra was hard work as well. I'm mainly a sea swimmer. Done that for a long time, but I also camp, walk. I'm learning to surf. And so wetsuits and stuff like that is tough. And that's why I'm really grateful to be invited along tonight.
Lovely, thank you. And Amy.
So I am a yoga teacher, and I'm also a trainee hill and moorland leader, so I like hill walking. Last year I started to run a lot as well, I was doing some quite big runs last year. What else am I? Oh, and I swim, obviously. So yeah, so my body, I'm a size 16 to 18. I'm 25, 5'7". My legs seem to be quite shorter and my body is longer, so I struggle with pants, trousers. Yeah, I struggle with trousers, like with the leg length and then to fit around my belly. But yeah, I'm glad to be here and to be something I'm really passionate about. So it's good to be on this panel with you guys and to chat.
Lovely. Thanks, Amy. And Susanna?
Oh yes, I always remember when I do these things that I always forget to introduce myself because I get really nervous. But yes, hi, I'm Susanna, and I've sort of set up and got everybody together for this session. I'm an outdoor swim guide, and I'm based in the Lake District. And prior to doing that, I was a trainee mountain leader. Now I'm the same as Amy. I'm training to do my hill and moorland leader because mountain leader just got a bit too belt and braces for what I tend to do in the outdoors. So I was previously a very fit and active size 14 to 16, sometimes an 18. In the intervening years, I've gone up a few dress sizes. So I'm now sort of around a 20 to 22 on my bottom half, 16 to 18, sometimes a 20 on my top half. And it is nigh on impossible to get decent outdoor clothing for my job. So I need to have, wetsuit to fit. I also need proper outdoor stuff because I do a lot of walking within my swim sessions. So I've got a lot of mix and match equipment. And as I'm sure a lot of women that do take a size 20 or above are perhaps aware of, Mountain Warehouse does stock a lot of bigger sizes. But as an outdoors professional, I don't feel professional, for good or bad. When I'm wearing Mountain Warehouse, I'd like to be able to wear RAB or Mountain Equipment, or a logo that is recognisable in outdoor terms. So it's something that I'm very passionate about because I get a lot of people coming to me in my sessions who feel that the outdoors isn't for them, or outdoor swimming isn't for them because they can't get any equipment to fit them. And a lot of all of us here that do swim, we do swim without wetsuits, and some of us with wetsuits. But I think whether it's swimming or walking, you want to fit in. You don't want to feel that you have to get into a lake in your swimsuit because there's nothing to fit you. And I think it's the same with hill walking. You don't want to have to go out in a Marks and Spencer's pair of running tights and a Mountain Warehouse waterproof because you can't buy something in the shops where everyone else is buying them. So yeah, as I say, I'd love to see better size representation, and hopefully we'll get enough information here that we can pressure the brands to do that.
Thank you. And I suppose it would be unfair if I didn't share a few of my stats.
Yeah.
You've just described my wardrobe. It's basically Marks and Spencer's leggings and Mountain Warehouse waterproof. So yeah, I'm also an open water swim guide, but I also teach children in a swimming pool, and I'm also a journalist. So I am very passionate about this, and I've written various different things about the outdoors and the various barriers and prejudice and judgment that is around. I've recently written something about, am I too fat to ride a bike, because my eyes have been opened that bikes have weight limits. Who knew? So I find this whole conversation really, really interesting, and something that I just really hope we can change. I think one thing that, by just you all describing yourself, which I think we should celebrate, is that we're also different. And so, to give brands a little bit of a break, it is going to be really difficult for them to make everybody happy all the time. However, the range of brands out there, and the range of different price points and different kinds of clothing, you'd like to think there'd be a brand that at least served you and your shape and your big feet or big boobs or little back or whatever it is. You'd like to think there's somewhere that I know I can get something that I need from that brand. I mean, I had a look around, and I always do. You know, there are some sports brands like Nike and Adidas that are trying to do more for a plus size figure, as they call it. Patagonia do a beautiful plus size range, but only in America.
Yeah.
Why? That drives me mad. And a lot of my clothes are high street brand stuff. So I basically walk and swim as part of my job, and everything is leggings from Marks and Spencer's. I think Sea Salt Cornwall, which is it's more of a sort of a fancy lifestyle brand than an outdoors brand, but they do really nice rain jackets, and they do go up to a 24, 26. But everything else is cobbled together from random shops. And I too feel very similar to Susanna. Mountain Warehouse, I think my waterproof trousers are a men 4XL, so they're not even a woman's. And yes, I do not feel very professional in them. One of the things that I talk a lot about with women is how can we go out and do sport or activity that we enjoy when we don't even feel good leaving the house? And, you know, there's an awful lot of people that will want us, you know, judge us by our looks and what we look like or our size, and encourage, you know, why don't you go and do some exercise? Well, actually, why doesn't the outdoor community supply kit so I can do that? So I was just wondering, you know, we know that things aren't great for us, but has anyone on our panel had a really positive experience, or there's a go-to outdoor brand that they really love? Susie?
Yeah, Decathlon is currently working for me. Yeah,
I think that's a very affordable brand.
Yeah, they can be very random on sizing. I currently have 2 pairs of matching shorts. One is a size 16, one is a size 20, but they are exactly the same shorts and exactly the same size. So you have to play around a little bit with the sizing, but I can get trousers that are long enough in there for me. And it's really good quality equipment for the price. Yeah.
That's good. Jane, yeah?
Yeah, I like a company called Mountain Hardware. I think they're an American company, but you can get them over here, and they do fantastic trousers in that they're really stretchy and a realistic length as well. They go up to, I think, probably about an 18, so it's not all of the range. But and the other thing is a very small company in Pembrokeshire called IC, who will, for the same price as an Off the Peg, will make you a made to measure sort of fleeces and stuff for post swimming, and they're just amazing, and she makes sure it fits, and I've really enjoyed wearing their stuff.
Yeah, okay, great. Susanna, you've got a wetsuit that was made for you, haven't you?
Yeah, and that was born out of not being able to find one that fitted. So I did have one that fitted. It was an extra large, and just before we came on, Susie was talking about this, about the sizing of wetsuits. They're just designed for athletic, triathlete shapes, and the tide hasn't started to change on that yet. And I was getting a lot of swimmers that were coming to me that wanted to swim and couldn't find a wetsuit to fit them, and I was having a similar problem. I put weight on and I just couldn't get into my other one without damaging it, so I had a bespoke one made, and it's not an option for everyone because obviously the price involved. I think mine cost about £345, and wetsuits are not cheap anyway. You are looking at spending at least £200 in most cases, and I thought, well, I'll just try it, and it's been the best thing that I've ever done because it's something that fits me. I've not had to change my shape to fit into this item of clothing. So now I've had 3 or 4. I hate using plus size because it's like, what's it plus to? You know, where's the benchmark that you up? It's just I've extended my size range, and I've done it with my own money, having these wetsuits made. So that was an investment that I made, because I think if you're trying sports for the first time, outdoor sports, it's expensive. You know, you can do it in basic stuff, but I think Peter has said to start with, people like to fit in, and I don't want people to standing on the edge of the lake thinking, why do I look different to everybody else? So yeah. I've actually found that's another, back onto, you know, technical hill walking gear, which is what Kathy really wants us to talk about. A company in Scotland who do Paramo, but they do a perfect fit. So you can buy it off the peg, your ordinary Paramo waterproofs or trousers, but then you can actually send your sizes and they will make you a pair of a waterproof jacket or waterproof trousers to your measurements. So I've just had a pair of trousers from them, and when I took them out of the packet, I just thought, God, these are never going to fit me. And even though they were my measurements, and I put them on and they fit like a glove, because they are my measurements. So I think over the years, I've obviously lost the idea of what I look like, because I've spent so long wearing clothes that don't fit me, or that are draped, or they're tight in the wrong place. I've kind of forgotten what my own shape is. So to have these trousers that are actually, Oh, have we got somebody else on there? Somebody needs to mute their video. So yeah, I would definitely recommend those, and I think at the end of this we will give resources to everybody so that they can follow up. So if you're not writing it down what we're saying, we'll follow up with the brand names that we're talking about.
And
oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry, Amy, go. Sure.
Just following on from the Paramo, I got some, I was saying to Susanna last week, I got some waterproof trousers, and they're the first pair of trousers that actually fit me, that I've I remember I was going on to like a hill navigation course like last year, and like the waterproof pants that I was trying on, I was just so embarrassed, and I was like, I don't even want to go because like they're so long in my leg, and like then they're like coming up here, and so yeah, that I was really surprised and like very happy that I could get them. So yeah, definitely take a look at that brand. But also as well, from when I was running, when I was like in the midst of running last year, I spoke to Susanna about a jacket, like a running jacket, and she recommended Outkit, because they got to size 18. I did manage to get like a waterproof running jacket from Outkit. But yeah, like I'd say last year I was walking up a hill in 3XL men's Salomon shorts. That was pretty rubbish because it was netted as well. So that was pretty crap. And also the Rab jackets, I think my Rab jacket is a 2XL in men's, and it only fits because it has like stretchy sides. So yeah, and I know Kathy was saying about they do one women's jacket in a size 18. Yeah, but I was just having a quick look then, and there's still like size 16 on pretty much every brand. And as well, like we all know that the fit for size 16 is like, yeah, it's not gonna go. So that's pretty rubbish. But yeah, I just thought I'd share my thoughts. Now I've got less nervous.
I was really fortunate that I got to interview Tom, who's the founder of Finisterre, about 2 years ago now. And I actually had a conversation with him about sizing, because they go to a size 16, and I think also quite famously, even then, are quite snug.
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting having a conversation with him. And I had a similar conversation with Rosie. So one thing I will say is I do get it. It is quite difficult for brands, you know, when you're stocking a variety of clothes and then you have to stock a variety of sizes. It's a cost, isn't it? And it's all sat in a warehouse until it's purchased. And Tom was sympathetic, but not really feeling very proactive, because there is a little bit of a danger of they could go bigger, and then actually, even though we want it, there's a number of us tonight on this call that want it, there's still a huge amount of women who are too nervous to step foot out the door. And although if they knew it was available would buy it, they're not being marketed to. So they could supply, but there might not be the demand. So one of the things that I was thinking that would be quite helpful for Kathy is actually if we talk about those absolute essentials. So for me, number one, a really great waterproof jacket, you know, a really good waterproof jacket for the summer, and a super waterproof warm coat for the winter that I can be active in. Those two things I would spend money on. So over to the panel, what would your like dream thing be for you? So walk into a shop and know that you can buy in your size. Let's start with Jane.
I think I'm entirely in agreement with you, Ella. That is the biggest struggle I have, is finding a really decent fitting waterproof jacket, because what happens with me is that even if you get one that will stretch over my boobs, the companies seem to think that I only want to wear a bra underneath it, because they don't leave enough room for a t-shirt or a jumper or a mid layer or anything like that. And literally I put anything on and it won't fit, and it bunches up under my arms and then it down to my knees, because they assume I'm 6 foot tall, which I'd love to be 6 foot tall, but I'm not. And yes, a really decent coat that again fits. Susanna and I have mentioned this before. It's the cut is important.
Yeah.
So this how stuff is cut. It's not. I'm not just a kind of slightly smaller bloke. You know, if you saw my boobs, you'd realise that straight away. You know, I've got a round chest, and so the coat has to be round over it, and that seems to me to be an impossible concept for most brands. So I'm completely with you, Ella. That would be absolutely top of my list.
I mean, I have a really beautiful padded coat, but it's Marks and Spencer's, and it was designed for women who are on the school run, not walking up a mountain. Now, I love it. It keeps me warm and I feel comfortable in it. But, you know, if I was to climb a hill in it, one, I'd overheat. It's not got that technical, you know, fabric that you need when you're in a cold environment, but you're being active. And so that's the thing I feel like we miss out in, that technical element of the materials they use, how these products are formed to enable your body to breathe. Because, you know, I'm bigger, I do sweat more.
Well, and I'm bigger, and I'm going through the menopause, so my temperature can fluctuate so wildly that if it isn't a technical product, I just end up taking it on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off, which is really tedious. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I've ever found that comes anywhere near is from Alp Kit. And that's it. If it isn't from Alp Kit, I struggle. So yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, so jacket, coat, tick. Karen, you mentioned the menopause as well, you know, and technical kit. What's your view on this?
Well, my experience with menopause is that it's actually changed my body shape. So I'm kind of fairly classic pear shape, if we have to use those metaphors, where I've got kind of, you know, almost no boobs and sort of bigger hips. And I've always been like that, but since going through the menopause, I'm carrying a lot more weight on my stomach, without my weight changing, but there's been a kind of redistribution of contents and kind of gone to my stomach, and which has been kind of strange. So now actually a lot of the clothes that I was wearing without my weight having changed no longer fit. Because and so I think that's, for me, I think there are two things that are really quite important. One is tops, so that t-shirt type tops, because and this comes down not so much to sizing only as cut again, but women's t-shirts and tops tend to be very tight, they're designed to be tight fitting, close fitting, whereas men's tend to be looser, and that can make some women feel very uncomfortable, particularly if you have rolls of fat, which most women do. It can make people feel uncomfortable, and it's actually not physically that comfortable to wear tight clothing. But also, particularly if you are carrying fat around your middle, which is not confined to the menopause, but is a kind of feature of menopausal kind of adjustment. I think there's that is an issue for me, and so I often end up kind of buying either sort of big men's t-shirts or wearing a sort of bigger, baggier cotton t-shirt over a tight technical t-shirt, which is not ideal either. And I guess the other thing I would say is underwear. Like a really good pair of knickers, like running pants or like technical pants, so you're not wearing Marks and Spencer's cotton underwear underneath expensive, you know, I don't want to spend 80 quid on a pair of trousers and then be wearing, you know, cheaper cotton underwear. That you need good technical underwear, and particularly I think bras are a whole kind of, they're a whole issue, aren't they? So I'm very flat chested, and so for people like me it's usually compression tight bras, but I've also, because I'm a swimmer, a long distance swimmer, I've got really broad back and shoulders. But I think, you know, obviously for women who are larger breasted, that's a whole other challenge. So I think, you know, I think a lot of women who are engaging with sport perhaps for the first time, or physical activity or outdoor activity, and are kind of attentive, are actually doing it in clothing and in underwear that's not comfortable, and so they find the activities uncomfortable. Yeah. And they're off-putting. And I think, you know, we could I think a campaign around kind of, you know, really good underwear is a really good thing.
Someone in the comments has just mentioned, you know, none of this is groundbreaking. It's true. You know, one brand just needs to say, okay, we're going to really put some effort and money into a curve range, you know, of an extended size range, using Susanna's language, that, you know, caters for us. They would make a killing, wouldn't they? You know, and it would be really super PR for them. So you can pass that one on, Kathy. Susie, what would your dream product be that you could walk? Is it going to be a pair of amazing boots?
I'm torn between a decent pair of trousers with some decent sized pockets on.
Oh, yes.
For one thing, that I can put stuff in, but it's got to be shoes. It's got to be a pair of trainers or a pair of boots in a lady size, because women's feet are a different shape to men. So I have to wear men's shoes. I don't have a choice about this. My current walking boots are a Salomon size 9, and they're a ladies, and they're perfect. But men's shoes are generally wider, and I have a fairly wide foot. My forefoot is wide, but my ankle is narrow. None of the men's shoes fit my ankle. I just slip out of them all the time. So yeah, just a women's shoe, but in a bigger size, in a 43, a 44, a 45. I've got friends who are like size 10 and 11. They're even worse than me. They find it even harder. So it's got to be those shoes. Yeah, in a decent waterproof as well.
It's interesting you mentioned pockets. There was something, I can't remember, I think it was on Twitter this week, that had a whole thing about the pockets on women's trousers and jeans are not deep enough even for their phone.
No. And
how, like, you know, why can't we just have decent pockets? Like, we don't just keep lipstick in it.
We have the same phones as men. They're just the same size.
And can I just say that anybody who puts a pocket here has never met a woman.
No. What are we supposed to put in there, you know?
I don't know. And I just think, you know, I'm big out the front as it is. I don't need to be sort of here, you know? So yeah.
Can I just bring in just a quick comment about the high chest pockets? And there's actually a really important thing about the tops you were saying and the cut, because there's two very technical reasons for both of those. So I'll just very quickly pop those in. With the pockets on the chest, as far as kind of more technical jackets are concerned, I agree, they're definitely not required for walking jackets. But if you're climbing and you're using a harness, or you're scrambling, or you're moving over technical terrain, when you've got a harness on, you can't access those lower pockets, so they have to be up here. And you do end up on a winter's day, you've got shoved down this one, you've got gloves shoved down this one, and you can't see your harness anyway to tie your knots, because you've got all of this stuff just tucked in so it doesn't blow away. But that's normally one of the key reasons, or it should be the key reason, on a jacket designed for mountaineering, for example. On a walking jacket, there's no call for that. There's no reason for that at all. Nobody needs to tuck a map in there, you know, inside the jacket anymore. Just good low pockets should be fine on a walking jacket for sure. Just going back to the base layers though, there is a really important reason why they have to be, or why they're cut to be close fitting, and they should be close fitting on the men as well, because it's the only way they work. They're designed to pick up the moisture from your skin and transport that out, or wick it out, if you like, so it can get out to the outer fabric, and that moisture or your sweat can then move out into the outer environment. If you imagine you've got a droplet of water on your tabletop and you hold a piece of kitchen roll above it, nothing will happen. If you just dip the tiniest corner of that kitchen roll into that droplet, you'll see all that moisture gets sucked up. Pretty much all of it will just get sucked up straight into the tissue. And that's what's happening with your base layer. It has to touch the sweat on your body to then transport it to a broader surface area. So yes, your garment's going to go dark. People are going to see that you're sweating. But it has to go to a broader surface area before it can mechanically move out through your clothing layering system. Once you put cotton in there, it's not going to work. That's going to act as a barrier. It does need to be normally man-made fibres or something like a merino wool as a natural fibre that will just help mechanically transport that moisture out. So that is why they do need to be close fitting. And I agree. I'm perimenopausal as well. I woke up after lockdown to find more of me had appeared around my midriff without any apparent reason whatsoever, and that's changed my shape for certain. And it is, you go out and think, oh, you know, it's a bit clingy, this, I'm not sure about this, but actually I kind of just sort of swallow it down, and I'm just thinking, well, this is me now. and for what I want to do, I need to have this fabric working. And that's the best way to do it, because I've tried going with the fabrics that are still technical but are less fitted, and they don't actually work as well.
Completely take the point about the base layers, absolutely. And that's a really important point. I guess a lot of people will then put something on top of that. And I think it's more that layer I was thinking of, the kind of t-shirt layer that I would imagine a lot of people might be hoping that might be a little bit loose around the frame, and be more, you know, so you've got the base layer that's doing the work of the base layer, absolutely.
And you can put almost like a second base layer.
So I often wear one on top of, wear a t-shirt on top of a base layer, and I think that t-shirt is the one that doesn't need to be as close fitting as they often are, and as close
so like the second layer.
I think ultimately, I understand what Kathy's saying about the how it needs to fit, and a lot of people will do, but equally a lot of people won't, or it won't matter regardless. They would just much rather have something loose. But if the size is available, you can go up a size.
I think it's quite interesting, really, because as someone who's never had this stuff available to them, I don't even have the education or knowledge about the kind of, I know that a good coat or active, something that's designed for me to walk up a hill or mountain is going to breathe differently to, my M&S coat, for example. But other than that, in terms of like layering and keeping myself warm, or, making sure the sweat moves away from my body, that's never been available to me. So I have no knowledge of it. So I think there's a huge part here of, I wouldn't go into an outdoor shop knowing that that's something I need or understand what to look for. So I think there is a bit more about, did you know that these fabrics and this technology is available, and then actually providing something in the size range as well, to make you more comfortable. I think there's an awful lot of women walking mountains around the country very uncomfortably.
And not knowing, as you say, not knowing it could be any better.
Exactly. Like, like you said, the day you put those trousers on and they fit well, you were like, wow, it's not until you put something on that you think, crikey, that's how it's supposed to feel. Amy, what would your dream thing that you could go in and just buy off the shelf?
I think I'm in agreement with Karen, actually. When she was talking, I was thinking, I don't even think I have any t-shirts, or because I always look at them and they're really short in the body, or and like I always run with like a big baggy t-shirt on. Like I find running stuff as well is like even worse. Like it's like there's nothing, I guess, and like base layers, and I know that you're saying that they have to be tight, but I find that there's no base layers even in my size that would fit. Like there's nothing even there available to even be tight to my skin. So yeah, probably like a good top But yeah, I really found last year when I was like looking at some technical stuff for running, I thought the running stuff was pretty wasn't a lot around. And Ella, what you was just saying about you know how you didn't know it was available, and like you, yeah, I mean, it's just like, because I'm 25, like I'm only just getting into like this outdoor community, like this outdoor world side of things, and that's because like I never knew that I could do this, or yeah, it's pretty, yeah, I just never realised that, you know, women can do this, like bigger women as well. So like you were saying, like when you do find things, you're just like, oh, well, I can actually do this now. And sorry,
yeah.
go on.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know how other people feel, but I mean, Kathy, you mentioned about training some of your team, etc. But walking into an outdoor shop can actually be quite intimidating.
Yeah.
And, you know, often they're able-bodied white men who run these shops. I mean, I know there's a vast amount of women in these industry. I'm hugely generalizing, but there is a huge kind of intimidating aspect to a lot of these outdoor shops. And I wouldn't dare say, oh, well, hello, do you do anything for my size? I sort of creep along the shelves, sort of realize that they go up to 16 and then creep out. So no one's ever been able to talk me through the kind of kit that would actually benefit me for the activity I want to do. So I think there's a huge part also on outdoor brands and outdoor shops making you know, their staff incredibly welcoming and understanding to educate all people who walk into their shop about what is going to help them do the activity they're choosing.
Yeah, and that is a really good point. It's something we identified actually during the second lockdown, and this year's the 55th anniversary for our Welsh shops, and we were trying to think what we could do digitally to celebrate that. So we created the Jo Brown Outdoor Academy, which is a sister website to our online shop. And that is a place where you can go and book instructors for activities. You can brush up on skills digitally, but most importantly, there's a knowledge section as well. So that's broken down into clothing, footwear, camping, sleeping, cooking, and on there are all the links that we know that are really helpful. The other thing we've done since the start of this year is starting to write buyer's guides. So if you go onto our website, which is www.climbashop.com or climbers-shop.com, if you go down to the bottom, there's a blog page, and if you go into that, our buyer's guides are there. You can actually access these from the products as well. And when you go into the product description, there'll be a list of questions, because we found that customers were it was difficult digitally to sort of have a chat with customers like we would normally do. So there's a list of questions that you might want to think about before you obviously spend a lot of money on kit. And then we've also started doing podcasts called Outdoor Gear Chat. And that's myself and a gentleman called Wayne, which is just sort of busting some of the myths, because one of the things, I've been in this industry for 30 years, from an instructor through to working in distribution, sales, marketing, manufacturing, and now retail. And it is a bloke heavy industry. Always has been male dominated. It's terribly white middle class. It's not diverse in any way, shape or form. And there is an awful lot of scientific marketing waffle, for want of a polite word, that is talked about and just bandied around, and a lot of it's incorrect, and it is really daunting if you come in and you're not used to that. So part of the podcasts that we've done that you can find, if you just search Outdoor Gear Chat on Buzzsprout or Apple or Spotify, you can listen to those, and it's about talking about stuff and just busting some of the scientific myths, so people could just feel a little bit more empowered, a little bit more knowledgeable before you go into the shop, if that's what you need.
Lovely, thanks, Kathy.
Yeah, those online guides sound perfect, because I think that a lot of women, anyone who doesn't feel like they fit, will feel quite intimidated by going and asking a shop assistant. I know for my entire life, buying clothes anywhere has been tortuous, so I've always felt quite embarrassed, but being able to go and access that privately without having to kind of confess that don't know what you're doing is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully, thanks very much for that feedback, because I really appreciate that. We're kind of sort of throwing these together and putting them out there, and just hoping that they work, because it's very difficult to get feedback. Yeah, we're acutely aware, particularly with our shops. They're very technical. You walk in, there's just a wall of climbing gear is the first thing you see. We're acutely aware that they are very technical, but our staff, they're just fab. And they're equally conscious and don't want to be too intimidating, but as I said before we sort of came on, at the moment having to work in face masks, just having your eyes available to communicate is so difficult, and all of the staff have found it really difficult, and are just always on the back foot. They don't want to cause offence. It's really difficult to read customers who are also got half of their faces covered, and they're all just keen to talk about stuff. You know, they're very approachable, but I completely understand how intimidating it can feel walking into a technical shop.
Well, I mean, you've had some positive comments on the side. I think some people love what you do, Kathy, so that's great. I mean, one thing I would say, a couple of people have said they're not in a beautiful place like the Peak District or the Lake District. They're in London or in the south, and yeah, you seem to only come by a really good outdoor or independent outdoor shop when you're in somewhere like the Lake District or, you know, or something.
Well, we did have one in Milton Keynes, but COVID put the kibosh on that, unfortunately. It had to close.
It's quite hard to find. I mean, my nearest outdoor shops are things like Go Outdoors and Mountain Warehouse. They're the kind of things near me. But yes, it looks like you've got some fans in the comments. I'm conscious of time, so I was just wondering, Susanna, you've been watching the chat. Is there any kind of themes or questions from there you think we should pick up on?
I think there's obviously a lot of people are commenting and sharing their sizes and places that they've been able to buy things that have been really good for them, and I'm going to turn that into some resource so that everybody can access it, and it's not just lost within this, so we'll have it forever. One of the things that I am noticing is as Jane said earlier, when brands do a bigger size, if they do a size 18 or 20 or whatever it is, it tends to imagine that the person is not only bigger in terms of weight, but height as well. And I've seen that a lot, that, you know, you have your set size 12, 14, 16 advertised on the website, but they are designed for a model shape. So your body has to fit to that particular style that the manufacturer's giving you. And a lot of people are asking for longer tops. You know, and I think it's not just from a case of having longer bodies. I think it's a modesty thing as well. Yeah. We don't want to feel like when we're bending over, we're flashing our back or our pants and things like that. Or, you know, if you're reaching for something, if you're cycling. And Alpkit have been really quick to take that on, because I've done one of these before with Alpkit, and they subsequently introduced a size 18 to their range. And I think they're also going up to a 20 and a 22, which is unheard of for a brand of that stature to include that kind of sizing. And all their arms are long, so they're too long on me, but it's great because they've obviously designed them, taken on board that feedback that women are cycling, they're climbing in their clothing where your arms are outstretched a lot of the time, so they've taken that on board, and the clothing does work. I was going to say something else and I've completely forgotten where I was going with that now. It's completely gone out of my head. Oh, that was it. Somebody has asked about if anyone has got any experience of working with like National Parks and Forestry Commission, and what their clothing, what kind of clothing they have, because that tends to be unisex or men's, or just a standard range that comes from somewhere like Regatta. They tend to do a lot of workwear and stuff like that. So I don't think any of you would have any experience of that, would you?
Regatta is one of the few outdoor brands that does do plus size. I think they go up to a 26.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd not seen that in my research. Okay, I'll have a look and I'll add that to my research, to the resources.
I'm watching the chat. Someone's got a spreadsheet with sizes on. That sounds very exciting.
Yeah. I've got one of those too.
I think that what was funny as well is that, you know, having all this discussion and nobody's mentioned pink.
Oh. I didn't get a chance.
And purple.
Pastels. What is pastels?
Purple.
Yeah, purple. Yeah. I think we just
Or Lady Turquoise.
yeah. I mean, you probably know this, Kathy. It's the shrink it and pink it. It was the standard industry phrase for so long, that you take your men's, whatever it is, and make it a bit smaller and pink, and then the women will buy it then. But when I did this thing with Altkit, we were asking for mustard yellow, like a bit like what Susie's wearing, oranges, bright colours. The mountain rescue guys, when they tell you what colour they want you to wear on the mountain, they don't want you to blend in. They want to be able to see you. So, I want a lime green jacket that covers my bum. That's my thing.
I'll add that to the list.
Yeah,
that kind of that green there, that one.
Yeah, it's not green.
I was talking to my husband about colours, because I knew this would come up, and I don't do the buying, because traditionally buying involves a lot of travelling, and I just stayed at home and raised the kids. Paul's done the buying, and has travelled about as needs. So I asked him about this, and I don't know what happens with designers. This is like a voodoo territory. I am going to look into this a bit further, but the colours are set by the range designers almost 2 years ahead of when you see them on our shelves. And some years Paul comes back and he's like, oh yeah, killer colour palette this year, they've nailed it, it's fantastic. And then other years he's like, literally, I had to buy the navy, all the other colours were just like bleh. This last 2 years, without question, is the brightest colour palette that we've had available in the shops, and it's pretty much all of the colours that the suppliers make. We've been trying to get more and more colourful as we go. Over the years, it's been very difficult because you only have a set amount of budget, and you're like, God, which are going to be the best-selling colours? Red and navy are going to be the ones I know I'm going to sell through, and that has been the decision-making process. We have kind of managed to morph out of that and become a bit more daring. It can be a bit of a when you're sitting writing all the orders, but I am happy that this last 2 years we're moving more and more towards a colour palette. We have one purple ladies jacket. I did check in the shop yesterday. All the others are like orangey, reddy.
I just wanted to show you, so that and that,
yeah,
and that, please.
That's really specific.
Yeah.
With the tape as well.
Yeah, I'm with the green. Green.
Very nice. I mean, the thing is, there is, like, we're all saying we want colours that aren't pink and purple, and I agree, like a nice bright orange thing would be lovely. But I think we also need to remember there's an awful lot of people who are not as confident in themselves, that want to hide away, and they want to wear the black and the navy and the grey. I mean, I know we're talking about outdoor technical kit, but when I've spoken to Rosie at Deacon and Blue, her bright swimsuits and patterns don't sell as well as the black and the plum and the dark colours. So it is a constant battle. So we've targeted pink, and we've said about pockets, but I thought it'd be quite interesting to finish with, like, anything you want to say to Kathy that we absolutely want to put in the bin when it comes to women.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
A really good one.
So, yeah, I'm just putting "do not" in huge letters here, and I'm going to fill up underneath
small
it.
Pockets, put them in the bin.
Yeah.
Pink, put that in the bin.
Low-rise trousers.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
hate them.
T-shirts that come to your waistband.
Yeah, long in the body.
Burn them.
Tops.
Burn
yeah.
them all.
I would say advertising that doesn't show women actually doing the activity. So a lot of advertising of women's clothes shows them kind of sitting on things, or sort of draped over it in a kind of come hither sort of way. Whereas with men, you often see them doing things, and women are looking like they might do it later. And
so true,
I kind of think, you want to see women wear, and also to see different women wearing clothes. If you want to sell to women who are bigger, you have to have images of women doing things who are bigger, and the same with disability, and the same with trans and people of color, and so on. To actually, if you could imagine in a store what I want to see, and I'm sorry, I'm being catted. What I want to see when I go into a store, if I'm not feeling confident about going in, is I want to see images of people, of a variety of people, and actually some signage that says, we welcome novices, we welcome people of different sizes, we welcome trans people, and different so on.
Different ages as well.
And ages, because I remember it took me years to go into a running shop and actually go on a treadmill and get shoes fitted, because I didn't feel like I belonged in that space. Because I only run like half an hour 3 times a week. And it's like the trousers.
You can't be it, can you? Right?
Yeah.
So
you've got to see it.
Sure, there's representation of the wonderful variety that we are. Okay, so that's a really good one. I mean, Speedo, I mean, they drive me nuts.
Oh God.
Female advertising is basically all about, sun lounging, and men are, winning races. It's insane.
I know this is very specific, but their swimsuits, they're like cheese wire. they're too high cut at the front, and only my doctor needs to.
You're only supposed to sunbathe in it, Susanna.
That's not going wrong, isn't it?
You're doing it all wrong. You're not supposed to swim in it. Anything else we want to put in the bin? I'm just checking the comments to see if anyone's put anything in the bin.
No, I don't think. I think we've probably covered everything. Nobody said anything that they want to put in the bin. But yeah, I think that's a really good point that you made, Karen. Actually, I've been emailing Marks and Spencer's about this, because they've got 216 items in their swimwear range, and every single one of them is modelled by a size 8 model. So how am I supposed to know what my size 20 arse is going to look like in that swimsuit until it arrives? And okay, maybe there's a cost thing for smaller shops and smaller businesses, but this is Marks and Spencer's, for God's sake. They can afford to have different size models for all their swimwear. And the cynic in me thinks that they possibly won't sell as much, but that's a good thing, because if you see this pair of trousers, this walking jacket on a realistic size body, or a selection of sizes, if it looks rubbish, you're not going to buy it, are you? Then the brand will stop making it, or they'll redesign it, and then we all get what we want then ultimately. So realistic modelling would be
because I think just as pink it and shrink it is a problem, when people get bigger, the clothes don't get bigger in the same proportions.
No.
That you gain, everybody, men and women, gains body fat in particular parts of the body. So you can't just expand the sizes, like by just making each one like an inch bigger or something in all dimensions. That it actually changes the structure and the composition of your body in really interesting ways. That needs to, and that's why we need to see women wearing the clothes.
I mean, if anybody's in any doubt, I'm an admin of a swim group, and we're really, really focused on body positivity. And as a result, we have lots and lots of women swim. And if one person finds something that fits nicely and looks nice, instantly 15 women go out and buy the same thing. And it's there for the taking. It really is.
I suppose one other quick thing to come back to is minimums. So at the end of the day, all the brands are going to make products that make their money. We're all businesses at the end of the day, but because of the way technical clothing or outdoor clothing is made, it's all made in the Far East. It's ordered so far in advance. Before even we get to see it, the manufacturers have had to commit to buying lengths of fabric and zips and fixings and everything else. So they have a minimum quantity that they have to book with the factory to make. So until they're confident that they can hit those minimum quantities, which could be anything between 300 to 500 units of a size 18, 20, 22, then that's not going to be an easy decision for them to make. So part of this is kind of I'm covered by pieces of paper and notes here. I've filled all my paper in. Is to help this sort of get this collective voice. And as you say, it's difficult, or it's not perhaps a comfortable experience coming into the shops. We can only measure through our newsletter sign-ups, really, our customer demographic. We can't scan everybody who comes through the shop door yet, unfortunately. So we're kind of working on data that's pretty skewed. It's not even accurate. So this is all part of getting that collective voice together, and so I can sort of show to the brands, well, maybe you might want to delve into this a bit further and see there is a real demand here for this.
I think there's probably something, you know, you'd only need to look at, I mean, for example, my local Sainsbury's, they go up to a size 26 in a large proportion of their sort of clothes that they do for women. As soon as they bring out something, you know, a nice summer dress, or even swimsuits, actually, they've had some long sleeve swimsuits this season. Or if you go on the website, anything 16 and above, completely sold out. And so I think there might be something in actually looking to the fashion industry and looking at how many people are buying 16 extended size range, because there is definitely a market for it. I mean, people in the comments are saying, you know, if it marketed right with the right models, you know, the right people demonstrating, here we are, it doesn't matter which brand it is. If they went out tomorrow and said, look, we're for everybody, you know, had a trans person, a black person, a fat person, you know, all wearing really cool kit, they clean up. Make the money.
There was one point in there that would perhaps work with your how-to guides that you were talking about earlier, Kathy, and someone has mentioned, so I do this with my wetsuits. This brand fits you well, so it's Kate has said this brand fits you well if you have X, so whether it's bust, hips, bum, long body, short body. So, you know, when we walk into a shop, we're looking at 14, 16, 18, the sizes. When you're buying bras, you're looking at, you know, 40C, which is what I wear. When you get a wetsuit, it's generally done on your height and weight. And, you know, I took two ladies out yesterday who were both 70 kilos, but they were about as tall as Susie. And I've got a lady tomorrow who is also 70 kilos, but she's about the same height as Jane. And they're expected to wear the same wetsuit. So I always ask people what their overall shape is, as well as things. So that could be something you could add to the website, and you might find out you sell less of some things, but at least people.
Well, it might reduce our returns rate, which is equally important. Yeah, I suppose the brands, certainly Rubber Mountain Equipment, do cut to 3 different shapes within their range. They've got different terminology for each of them, and I realised halfway through this evening I couldn't remember what they're called. But it's effectively like a regular cut, which would be a comfortable cut. Then it would be an alpine cut, which would be just that little bit tighter, and then racing snake wisp up a mountain in 20 seconds cut, which is for those athletes who have zero body fat and actually don't need any more, because they're moving so fast, they don't need any extra layers. So they do cut to 3 different shapes, and those are noted in our product descriptions. But I absolutely take on board, you know, just making that a bit more generic, because you can't tell online at all, can you? At least when you look at something physically in a shop, you kind of get, oh, their arms look nice and long on that, I'll give that one a try. I think idea.
That's quite bad. You know, I don't expect every brand to cater for me, but knowing that one brand fits me would be amazing. So that one brand is taller than another brand would be awesome. You know, we're not expecting, but the difficulty is when one brand almost tries to cater for everyone without telling you, without explaining it, that you go, well, last time I bought some trousers from them and they were okay, but this one isn't, and I don't know why.
Is there anything you haven't kind of got that you need, Kathy?
No, I totally came into this with an open mind, because I just thought, if I start putting down ideas and parameters and things like that, I don't want to just channel this down a yeah, I don't want a sort of an outcome that I was kind of expecting in the first place. That's not the point of this evening. So no, I don't think so. It'll take me a couple of days to work out all my scribbles here. So I'm exceptionally grateful to Susanna, who's going to make it into a really nice, neat, kind of typed up piece of information. That's going to be really helpful.
I promise. I mean, it won't be tomorrow, but I promise.
No, it doesn't have to be tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything in the chat as well. I think there's a lot of comments that there's too much in there to go through this evening. I think we've definitely got material for perhaps another session like this. So yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. I'm just going to take a quick photo of everybody on the screen. Because if it's not on social media, it didn't happen. There we go. Yeah, so as I said, yeah, I'll download the chat, and yeah, we'll put together some resources for everybody, and we can share it on our social media, and we'll make this this video available for anybody that's not been able to join us. And but yeah, just thank you to everyone for coming along, and thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we've not caused more problems than we've solved, Kathy. Excellent. Right, I'll end this meeting now then, shall I?
Great. Thanks very much. Bye.
Good evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.